Welcome to Dice Tower Live.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel and welcome to live Q&A, or no, it's not live Q&A, I'm so used to saying that. The top 100 games of 2018. So we're going to start off with a couple of things here. So first of all, let's jump to the colored slides here so we can see some pretty colors. I want to talk about this top 100 a bit before we get into it. There's a couple reasons I'm doing this. One, I like making lists. That's just how it works. But two, I'm constantly told how just boring and mediocre 2018 is. I'm not saying 2018 is the greatest year in gaming. I'm not even close to saying that. But what I am saying is that a lot of great games came out. So much so that there's going to be a lot of games that I've enjoyed and given positive reviews to this year and will give positive reviews to that haven't made this top 100 list. That's just how it's going to work. So I think this has been a phenomenal year for gaming because I think that that's just where we're at right now. I think 2019 will be phenomenal. I think 2017 was phenomenal. So there's a lot of great games here. Obviously, the games here could move up or down. A game being 100 here doesn't mean that it's a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. And we're doing this live, so I am keeping an eye here on the chat in front of me to talk about this. Gregory says, wow, top 100 games in just 2018. How many games must you play in just 1 year to come up with a top 100? Must be nice. Hey, it is nice. And I would say, I think when I went through the numbers of 2018, I want to say I played around 400 or so games, maybe. Maybe it was less than that, I'm not sure. But I can tell you this, there was at least 200, I think, that could have made the top 100 or so I considered. And this is also my personal top 100. So there might be a game that you see lower and you thought I raved about it, but maybe I raved about it because I thought it was a great kids game or a great game for certain people. So this is just my personal top 500. Ooh, there's already 4 dislikes for this video. I'm so sorry. But all right. So I'm also breaking this list into 2 sections because I want to be able to get a bit of break halfway through. So we're going to start with 100. So here it is. Number 100 is Exodus Paris Nouveau, or I think that's how you pronounce it. This is another one of these social deduction style games. This one went really under the radar, in my opinion. It is a game in which you are split into 2 teams, trying to accomplish missions, and you're working back and forth, moving leadership around. I'm sure that in a couple years, no one's going to talk about this one at all, but I found it really clever. It's a clever style game where you're passing the who goes first, back and forth, and moving around. And I just really like that idea of this game. Just the different characters. They use the same artwork as their Resistance universe and such. But a good one. Exodus Paris Nouveau. All right, number 99. Number 99 is a connection style game where you could play, I guess, with 1 million people if you wanted to, and that is Lynx. Well, maybe not 1 million people. Lynx is a game in which you are going to try to connect different points around the outside of the map. You'll flip over a bunch of points, and then everyone has to connect those points. It has some really cool artwork. You're doing polar. This is the water one up here. I really like this quick speed style game, but as you get better at this game, you start losing your tiles, which is why I guess it wouldn't work with 99. But it works really well with a group of people, because if you get too fast, it makes future ones just a little bit harder for you. I like these connection games, and this is a little pretty one, and that is Lynx. All right, number 98. This one is a game of usually a mechanism that I don't necessarily like in games as much, and that's the Rondel. This one has 3 of them. Scorpius Freighter. In fact, we played this live. Sam and Z aren't as big of a fan of this as I am, but I really like Scorpius Freighter. This is a game in which you have your own little freighter ship. You're some sort of pirate captain, and you're just moving around these rondels, dropping off, taking the actions that they'll do, which is making your ship bigger, or maybe trading goods back and forth. It's not that long of a game. Has some really cool, almost overproduced ship pieces in the middle that move around with the cubes, but I like it. It's another one of those games that I don't know that people will be talking about in a couple of years, but I thought it was very interesting, a nice, fun little economic game. All right, so that's Scorpius Freighter. Number 97 is one that I think probably works best, I don't know best with kids, but I think it's aimed at kids. But I always like these games where you draw on transparencies and stuff. This is a game in which you're placing tiles down and putting a transparency on top of them, and that's Woodlands. So Woodlands, which is a game that takes place over different fairy tale aspects, Little Red Riding Hood, King Arthur and his Knights, vampires. I guess it's not really a fairy tale. But in this game, you each are placing tiles on a board, and you're going to be looking at this transparency, trying to connect things or not connect them. So you put all these tiles down, and then you put the transparency on top of that, all these tiles, and see how many points you got or did not get as the game goes by. It's fun. Like I said, kids can play it. It has that fun fairy tale, but adults, I think, will enjoy this one also, and that is Woodlands. All right, so Woodlands, great game for all ages. Let's jump now to number 96. I like drafting games. There's a lot of drafting games out there. This is a drafting game that looks cute and silly and light, and it is light, but I don't know if I call it silly. It's a lot of fun, and that is The Little Flower Shop. So The Little Flower Shop from Dr. Finn. Most people know Dr. Finn from Biblios. Biblios, of course, a great game. The Little Flower Shop here is a game in which you're building a flower shop with these pots and putting flowers in them. And you're doing so by drafting cards. You get these cards and you have to figure out the best way. Am I going to draft the vase? But hopefully I'll get, the vase. Or am I going to draft collect flowers to go into that? Or am I going to draft some money that I can use to hire people for my shop? So this is just a nice, small, light game that's pretty and has a different theme, right? It's not zombies or fantasy or whatever. It's The Little Flower Shop. And I think this is the kind of game that you could get people who aren't big gamers to check out. So The Little Flower Shop is my number 96. Whew, alrighty, we're 20% done already. I mean, 5% done, sorry. Number 95. This one here is one that I just played recently, and that is Manitoba. So Manitoba, it takes place in Canada, or a Canadian province, and you are building totem poles or something like that. It's another one where the theme doesn't really matter. It's just about getting points. And so in this game, you have this little map and you're trying to get resources. But what this game makes interesting is you can see the scoring patterns coming, and they're going to be changed from game to game, and you have to kind of prepare for them, getting the resources, or maybe ignore a scoring and jump ahead to a possible future scoring. There's some interaction for sure. There's a really weird totem mechanism where you take some discs and flip them over. And I found this one, this totem board here, this scoring track here, it's really pretty. The whole game just looks really good. I like this one a lot. And so that is Manitoba, my number 95. All right, number 94. Now this one I liked because of the theme, and that's because I'm not a breakfast cereal person at all. But a couple of these cereals, if I had to eat a breakfast cereal, I'd pick some of them. And that's Monster Crunch, the breakfast battle game. Starring Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Crunch, and the other two I don't remember. Fruit Brute. Anyhow, this is a ladder climbing game in which each person is trying to get rid of the cards from their hand. You each have your own specific deck with your own special abilities. You're trying to use milk to be able to play cards. You're just trying to get cards out of your hand. Whoever gets the most cards out of their hand is going to win the overall game. There are a lot of ladder climbing games that are out there, Teach You and things like that. This is a lighter one than most of them, but I like it a lot. I think it's fun. It's easy to get into. It's easy to teach people. People are going to come around and be like, ooh, I remember Count Chocula and Yummy Mummy. No one remembers Yummy Mummy. But maybe you remember Yummy Mummy, but you definitely remember Boo Berry and Frankenberry and all that stuff. So, and it's just a fun theming to this. So my number 94 is Monster Crunch, the breakfast battle game. Alrighty, number 93. So we'll jump now to roll and move games. There's a lot of roll and move games, And this one is Roll to the Top. I don't play all the roll and move games that come out over the year. In fact, one of the games that's very popular is Welcome To, and I've not played that one yet, so don't look for that one on my list. I just haven't got to it. But Roll to the Top is kind of a racing one. You're going to get these little building sheets. Everyone's going to get the same building, whatever that building might be, or a tree, apparently. And then you're going to roll dice, and you're going to write those dice or combinations of those dice on the tree. And so, I mean, or on the building, but you can only write numbers that are higher as you go up than the number below. So you can't, if I roll these numbers here, I might not write a 20 in the bottom because I can only put 20s or higher above it. So I could add 20 to 12 and get 32 and put it there, but then I need to have numbers that are higher than 32. So you have to be careful, and the first person to fill in their whole sheet is the winner. It's a simple game, but I found it to be a lot of fun, and that is Roll to the Top. And that is my number 93. Did I say roll and move? Roll and write is what I meant. All right. Number 92 was a very highly touted sequel to one of the most famous Euro games ever designed, Tigers and Euphrates, and this is Yellow and Yangtze. So Yellow and Yangtze is essentially Tigers and Euphrates 2.0 because instead of squares, it's coming with hexagons. And so you see a hexagonal thing, and then there's 5 colors. There's yellow, and there's a few other rule changes where blues and blacks. I mean, it's still the basic thing. There's still the internal and external conflicts, although here they're called war and internal strife, or I forget what they're called. But I think I like this better than Tigers and Euphrates. But I don't think if you like one, you're suddenly going to not like the other, and vice versa. Like if you don't, like I don't like Tigers and Euphrates. Is this one going to be one I like? Probably not. If you like one or the other, if you like one, you'll like the other, and so on and so forth. So I think this game, great production by the way. Grail Games just does some phenomenal stuff, and this sequel of sorts for me, if I was still a huge Tigers and Euphrates fan, this would replace it for me. I mean, it replaces it for me anyway. The hexagons, the special abilities for the different tiles, but it is still the same classic game that came out in '99 to some degree. So there you go. Number 92, Yellow and Yangtze. Number 91. So number 91, we have, this is the third game in Uwe Rosenberg's tile-laying trilogy, and that is Spring Meadow. Maybe it's his third one? I get confused. It's his third one in the ones that he and Stronghold did, where there was Cottage Garden and Autumn whatever, and Indian Summer, and now this one, Spring Meadow, but he's also done Patchwork and Feast for Odin. He really likes this whole put tiles down. This one is halfway between Cottage Garden and Indian Summer, where you're basically just placing tiles down, but you want to leave these holes open, and then you're going to be covering them up, but you're basically trying to fill a row. What this game feels like when I play it is slow Tetris, and that's really kind of what it's like. And so Spring Meadow, it's fun, it's simple. I don't know that you need all 3 of these games. I would pick which ones I wanted. Don't ask me which ones I like better than the others. I would have to go through and really think about it. I could easily play it. I like almost all 3 equally. Maybe Indian Summer is the best, but Spring Meadow is still a lot of fun, and that's why it's my number 91, Spring Meadow. Whew, all right. 1/5 of the way through this first video. We're going to number 90, but before we get to number 90, let's look at the comments, see if anyone said anything. I thought Yellow and Yangtze would be higher. Well, it's going to be higher for some people. You remember, I have a wide range of games that I like, so I like some light games, I like some heavier games, and you're going to find a mix of all those as you go through. And again, every game on this top 100 are games that I enjoy and games that I would play. I thought you would like this one more. Well, again, maybe I do like it more, and I just like it more than the other 50 games I haven't shown you here. Am I putting expansions in my list? I am not. In fact, tomorrow I'm doing my top 10 expansions of the year, so you can see those then. All right, let's jump to number 90. So number 90 is a game that I was excited about because of the company that made it. And when I first saw it, I thought, this seems like a really simple game. You're making, I think, like just 13 decisions over the course of the game, but it's still a lot of fun, and that is Orbis. Now, Orbis, where you are creating your own Earth, you are creating your own tableau of tiles in front of you, but they have to be the same colors. You put them on top. It's a very simple decision. You're going to have some tiles out here. You grab one, and cubes will go on the other tiles, and then you're slowly building this tableau. This is what your board will look like at the end, and then you get points based on how you play stuff. Really enjoy it. It's, again, just a few decisions, but once the game gets started, you're like, ooh, these decisions are tough. You know, because now that I have blue, blue, red, red here, I'm not going to be able to use any other colors. Oh, wait, one of my things failed. Now I can use yellow again. So it feels like it's a lot crunchier than the time might tell you to be, but overall, very good game, and that's my number 90, Orbis. Number 89 is an extremely popular game at the Dice Tower Retreats we just ran. Everybody was playing it. It's a sequel to one of the most, well, to the most popular game that came out in the past 3 years, and that most popular game was Azul. This is a sequel, Azul, Stained Glass of Sintra. Now, I like this one better than Azul, actually. I think Azul's fine. I like the theming better. I think stained glass windows are cool. I like the idea of throwing the stained glass, you know, putting these pieces in, but it also felt a little bit more gamery to me as I do this. So in this game, if you've never played either of the Azuls, you are taking these really cool looking starburst tiles and you're going to be putting them on your board here. And when you fill a row, you'll drop one down and you're trying not to break too much glass. I have broken so much glass in Azuls. I mean, I thought I broke the record until I met someone who was even worse than me, breaking glass. So the game is fun, it's simple, it's fast. If someone's never played Azul, I think they would love this. You can teach this to anybody. I don't know that you need to have both in your collections, but if I'm keeping one, it's going to be my number 90, or number 89, Azul Stained Glass of Sintra. All right, let's see. Number 89, or 88, I guess, is a game that got very little buzz. But it should, because it's a really solid game based on a fun theme, and that is Castel. So Castel is based on this really weird festival that they do where they build human pyramids. I guess it's not as weird. It just seems odd to me that there's a whole thing built around that. And it seems super dangerous, but I heard that almost no one gets hurt on these because they're very careful to catch the people as they fall. Okay, would you catch me doing one of these? I wouldn't be up there. Of course, they'd stick me at the bottom and say, hold these people up. But in this game, you're going around the world to multiple, or going around the area to multiple of these festivals, collecting different people of different numbers and building your own pyramids of people. And it's a solid game. You're collecting these people and building them up and trying to figure out, get some special abilities, or maybe one person can hold one person directly above them, or you can have more rows, you can make your pyramid higher. Some really cool solid decisions, some really nice production values. Renegade is like just shooting games out. You know, so many games that I think this one got lost in that shuffle, but I think that a lot of people will really like this one. Give it a try. That is Castel, my number 88. Now, some people might be surprised that my number 87 is as low as it is, remembering, of course, that I like all the games on my list there. Oh yeah, someone asked who voted for these, or is it Tom's only opinion? These are only my opinion. This is not a voting thing at all. You want to see voting, you just go to Board Game Geek, search for 2018, and sort them by ratings. But anywho, my number 87 is the sequel to a game I love, Century Spice Roads, and it's the sequel, Century Eastern Wonders. Now, Century Eastern Wonders is definitely a sequel to the first one. They are part of a trilogy, and the two games can actually even be put together to play a third game. So I actually like that combo game better than this one itself by itself. I think they work best together. But this is a more thinky, more strategic version than Century Spice Road. So in Century Spice Road, you have some cards that you were collecting. In this one, you have tiles that you're going to be moving around to. You'll set these tiles up, and you have a ship that's moving around, and you're trading the cubes in for other cubes. It's that very essence of a trade this for that, trade this for that. and then eventually go and trade in those points for tiles to win the game. Very simple game, very pretty game, although you kind of want to get the player mat. It doesn't come with the game, but the player mat is gorgeous. You can get it online. I would recommend it. So either way, it is a fantastic sequel to the first game. Not as good as the original, but the fact that when you buy it, you get a game by itself, and then you can combine it with the original for a third game, that's pretty neat. Also, I managed to fit all of them into one box. So that's Century Eastern Wonders. Let's jump now to 86. Sometimes people are considered to be irrelevant, I guess, as they go by and don't produce many games. Reiner Knizia is one of those folks. I already mentioned one of his games, Yellow and Yangtze. But he still has a lot of cool games that he comes out with, and this is one of them from Blue Orange called Blue Lagoon. Now this game doesn't look like a Disney movie at all, I'm sure. But the game itself, is not as cool and fun and thematic as that picture would have you believe. It's an abstract strategy game where you are basically building chains. This is almost a sequel of sorts to Reiner Knizia's Through the Desert. It feels a little bit like that, as you're basically trying to put these guys down, trying to hit as many islands as the board as you can, trying to have a long row of one color, trying to connect your little cities here, trying to pick up tiles that are on the board or resources that are on the board for points. But it's simple, it's fun, and it's actually more thinky and cooler than it looks initially. When you first put out, you're like, this doesn't look like much. But inside, it's a pretty neat game. Oops, someone says the player mats are permanently out of stock. Oh, sorry. Well, maybe they'll come back. Anywho, and someone says we're jumping back to Century. Someone says they can barely fit the contents into one box. All you have to do is take out the insert. Aha! Once the inserts are out, everything fits in fine. Also, if you combine the games, you only need one set of cubes because you can use it for both games. But anyhow, that's my number 86, Blue Lagoon. A lot of fun. All right, jumping to 85. This is a game that the name still makes me think it's a perfume, and that's Obsession. Now, Obsession, I've met some people over the past couple weeks at 3 Treats who were like really loving on Obsession, and it makes sense. It's a game that has a different theme. It's a Victorian type theme where you are basically trying to woo some very popular people and get them to come, and so you're trying to build a cool mansion and have the best and coolest rooms and throw the best parties. The game doesn't necessarily look like that, all that. The game is, I think the game could have looked nicer, but it has these different folks that are coming, and you have these different rooms that you're building, a music room, a great hall, and it's a worker placement game of sorts. You have a a bunch of servants that you're sending around to do different things. You have a party and it requires different people, and you're kind of building combos. It's a pretty nifty game. It's heavier than you might think too. It's almost I would say it's a heavy Euro game. And it's mixed in there with this pride, intrigue, and prejudice in Victorian England, which is a theme that's not often used, so I was glad to see that. Alrighty, well that is number, where are we? That is number 85. Let's go to number 84. Number 84 is a game that I will be reviewing shortly, probably with Sam, since we both really enjoyed this 2-player game from Red Raven Games. Red Raven Games has very few games I don't like. There's a couple, or one I guess, but this one I did enjoy, and that's Haven. So Haven here, a 2-player game in which you are both kind of, it's kind of a mixture of war, I think, or maybe like battle. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it, but one of you is the forest and one of you is the city, and the city is trying to take over the forest or whatever. And you're going to be playing cards to your side of the table, and you're going to try to control these different areas to get these different tiles. Controlling areas will be moving spirits around on the board, and then you want to control them. So it's like a small area control to a bigger area control style game. You have different special abilities. The sides are slightly asymmetrical, so I think that's a nifty idea. And of course, it's beautiful and gorgeous. A really good, solid 2-player game. That is Haven. Alrighty, jumping down to 83. 83 is another game from Renegade. Like I said, Renegade puts out a gazillion games, so it's easy for their games to get lost in the shuffle. And this one here comes in a round cylinder container, and that is Junk Orbit. So Junk Orbit is a pretty cool looking game that looks extremely light when you first see it, but once you start playing it, there's a lot more involved in it. In Junk Orbit, you are a junker, and you set these tiles up kind of where you're going to be orbiting Mars and the Moon and Earth, and you're pushing yourself away from tiles, trying to land on tiles to collect them, and then using those tiles to push yourself in other ways so that when you land on spots, you'll get points. You have to deliver a specific tile, like this tile needs to go to Earth over here, and then this tile needs to go over to Mars, and the tiles on the Moon have to go to either one. So you're trying to think ahead. I think you have each have your own special ability. There's a much more interactive version of the game, which I like better actually than the standalone one. And again, it's a neat game, I think, that a lot of people just haven't even given a try to. So definitely check this one out. It is Junk Orbit, my number 84. 3. All right, 82. Now, 82 is going to be one of these games that when I reviewed it, it would sound like it would be much higher on my list. This is my personal list and how much I want to play it. If I'm talking about playing with my kids, well, that list is coming out. And spoiler alert, this game's going to be extremely high on this one. And this game is the Grimm Forest. Now, this game has amazing production, and it is a great, solid family-style game. And the only reason it's not higher on my personal list is because I'm basically just going to be playing it with my kids. But fantastically, I get to, or not my kids, but even maybe just my family. Here you are, one of the 4 little pigs. Apparently, there's a 4th one no one knew about. And you're going to be going out and collecting resources and building 3-dimensional houses before everyone else does. This game comes with miniatures. It comes with great artwork. You meet different fairy tale creatures in it. When this one's set up at a table and someone walks by, they're going to go, ooh, I want to play that, which is great. One of the best gateway games, if you know anyone likes fairy tales. Again, just over-the-top production and a good, solid game mixed in there. Druid City is just really improved. I can't wait to see the new stuff that they're coming out with as time goes by. But that is the Grimm Forest, my number 82. Alrighty, now we go from big oversized production now down to a smaller style game. This one is another roll and write game, Ganz Schön Clever. And so this game here, Ganz Schön Clever, is a game which, I mean, look at this scoreboard here. This is ridiculous. This looks like NASA designed this thing. But it makes sense once you play the game where you're rolling dice and trying to write numbers, trying to fill in as many of these spots as possible, getting to these foxes. Some dice give you bonuses in other spots on the board. And so one person rolls the dice and they're going to basically be choosing the dice other people can use on that time. It's a lot of fun. I was surprised at how much I liked it because the name / sheet didn't really do anything for me. This one is getting a lot of love from a lot of people. It's one of the more popular roll and writes that are out there. And so just pretty cool. That's Ganz Schön Clever. Someone said, by the way, Tom, why wasn't My Little Scythe in top 10 surprise of 2018? You reviewed it this year, you really liked it and expected it to be a joke. That's a good point. I just forgot about it when I put my top 10 surprises together. That should have been in it. All right. We're up to 80 now. Oh, we'll pause quick and answer some questions. The pronunciation king. Well, I'm not feeling real bad about pronouncing German wrong, so I'm sorry. Tom needs to lose the vest or move the mic. I'll move the mic. How's that? Hopefully that's better now. If it's still causing a problem, let me know. To be honest, I like My Little Scythe over the original. No way. My Little Scythe is fine, but it's a kid's game. Scythe is amazing. How many of these so far can you actually see yourself playing again? Well, I could see myself playing all of them. Just speaking of in the last weeks, I played Azul, of the ones I spoke about. Blue Lagoon. And I taught Scorpius Freighter, and I played Manitoba, and I taught Roll to the Top, and yeah, that's all of those. And I almost played Ganz Schön Clever. So yeah, I'm not saying these are my top 100 games of all time, and with thousands of games out there, who knows? I'm just talking about good ones that are good now. I'm from the Highland School. Shout out to the Hello, Highland School. All right. Would Grimm Forest work for a 6-year-old? Maybe, but be warned that in Grimm Forest there are some very strong take that cards. So they might be thrown off by that. When is the top 10 kids games coming? You can look at the live schedule. There's a lot of different live games coming out this week. All right. Here we go. Jumping into number 80. Number 80 is a game that did not get a lot of buzz this year, but I like co-op games, and I like co-op games that are fun for families, and there's not as many of those. They keep getting more complex and hard, in my opinion, and that is Wakening Lair. Now, Wakening Lair is a dungeon crawl, generic dungeon crawl, though I do like the cute artwork in it, where you're basically trying to run through a dungeon, get to the bad guy, and beat him. You're going to be going through these different rooms here, fighting these different monsters by assigning dice and working together. Again, it's light. We're talking like on the same level maybe as Castle Panic, but I'm always thrilled when one of these games exists because it's a game that people can jump into. They can have a lot of fun. I was surprised. I'll be honest. I went into Wakening Lair going, we'll see how it plays out. And by the end, I was very happy with how it worked out. So if you're looking for a light dungeon crawl, again, it's not necessarily a strong dungeon crawl per se. You're just rolling dice and assigning dice to kill monsters and using your special abilities. But working together is a must, and it can be a lot of fun. And the big bad boss that comes out, a giant spider or dragon or whatever, and you're putting dice on it, it's a pretty neat way in how the game works. So I recommend Wakening Lair. All right, number 78. Number 79, I'm being told, hey, I just reviewed this one this morning. It's going to be going up live, not live, but that video review will be posted at some point this week. This is a game that feels like a lighter version of Galaxy Trucker, and that is Anchors Away. Anchors Away. I did this in the video. I feel like I'm repeating jokes at this point. All right, but you haven't seen it yet, so it's the first time. So now when you watch, okay, anyway, Anchors Away is a game in which in the middle of the table there is a bunch of tiles that you are throwing down. They look like this with various things on, and then there's a bunch of cards you're going to place face up, and these cards will let you trade in these for resources or fight off pirates to get this or trade resources in for money, and you're sitting there you're grabbing tiles as quickly as you can, and then you shuffle the cards and reveal the cards one at a time, and you see if you can complete the cards or not. That's basically the game, but it's fun, it's fast, I won't say it's a Galaxy Trucker killer, but at the same time, it's certainly a faster, quicker version of it. So I really like it a lot. That's Anchors Away. Number 78 is a very brightly colored, almost looks like a candy game. Well, I guess maybe there's candy in it. It's about fantasy feasts called Festo. So Festo, I was drawn to it by, ooh, that color is pretty and bright. And once you see the board, it's even brighter. I mean, look at this. Bright. Get these cubes. The pixies and the orcs and magicians and elves are making things. But this game has some very cutthroat. It's like a worker placement game. So you place half your workers and then you'll place the other half. But in between those two halves, some of the spots may open and or shut. And you're not sure. So you might want to have the most in different areas to get these resources. You then turn in these resources to make things. This was a very fun game for me. I was impressed. I went into it expecting to like it, but at the end of the day, I didn't expect it maybe to be the game that it was. I thought it'd be lighter than that, and it feels light at first until you start blocking people and and cutting them off with where you place the workers, and you're sitting there going, if I go there, you're going to go there. Very interactive, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it is get stuff to turn in to get points. But I like it a lot. So my number 78 is Festo. All right, number 77 is a dexterity game from the king of dexterity games, Pretzel Games, and that is Men at Work. So Men at Work is a construction game where you're placing these sticks out and the guys on top of them, and it looks really cool. By the way, some of you might be wondering where Tokyo Highway is. Tokyo Highway just missed the list. I decided I like Men at Work a little bit better. But Men at Work is a dexterity game where you're stacking things. That's essentially the game. So It's not as innovative as maybe Flick 'em Up was for them, but what this game does is it just looks pretty on the table, and some hilarious things can happen. You'll put down a girder and it will swing around and knock a whole bunch of people off, which is probably a horrific thing in real life. But in this game, it's very funny. You're drawing cards, they're telling you what colors and what things to do, and it gets higher and higher until people make it fall. And you are just trying to not make things fall. You lose points by knocking stuff off, but you get points by doing cool things also. So that is number 77, Men at Work. Number 76 is a sequel to a game that came out last year, I believe. Yeah, it is last year because I just did my look back and I reviewed it a year ago. A year ago, I reviewed 5 Minute Dungeon. Now we're taking a look at 5 Minute Marvel. Now, when I went into 5 Minute Dungeon, I was like, 5 Minute Dungeon, I don't want to play no 5 minute game. First of all, both these games lie. They're not 5 minutes. They're 5 minute rounds. But I guess you could just play one round. 5 Minute Marvel took the 5 Minute Dungeon thing and made it even better, actually. In 5 Minute Marvel, each of you picks a special character. Ooh, Miss Marvel, I really like her. Or Rocket and Groot. And you pick these characters, and you're working cooperatively as you turn over a pile of cards in the middle of the table, and you are just playing stuff on top of them as fast as you can. Working together before the time limit runs out, because it's 5 minutes, and you have to get through this pile. And so you're going through the pile, and people are throwing them down. Each person has special abilities, has their own little deck of cards that they're able to draw from. And so just over the top entertaining. I like Marvel anyway. I need to see this new Spider-Man movie. But I like Marvel anyway, and so I'm excited to see this one come into play. I will probably never play 5 Minute Dungeon again. This one does it better. All right, number 75. So here's my another caveat. Number 75 is a game that I raved about when it came out, and I still think it's amazing that this game exists. Again, this is my personal list, but this is another one of those games that I'm so glad it exists because I think so many people will play it, and so many people love Disney, and we'll jump into this good game called Villainous. So in Villainous, you are one of the Disney villains. My favorite is the Queen of Hearts. But there's 6 different Disney villains. You are trying to accomplish your own goal in front of you. You have a board. You're trying to accomplish that goal, while other players will play bad cards on you, which are actually good guys. So they're playing good cards on you, kind of, but they're bad for you. Anyway, it really is thematic. From what I heard, it has original art in it. The pieces are glorious. And again, there's a lot of people who love Disney out there, and there's all these Disney mass market games, and I'm always like, oh, I wish you'd play a good game. If someone walks into Target and buys this, I'm confident they're going to really enjoy it. And I like playing it too. It is a lot of fun, and so that's Villainous number 75. All right, jumping to number 74. We're 1/4 done with the whole list. Number 74. Now this one might go up higher on my list when I go farther. I've only played 2 games of it, so I need to play it to its conclusion. But so far, I am really enjoying it, and that is Betrayal Legacy. So Betrayal House on the Hill is a game that I've enjoyed. It was a silly, goofy game with some major errors in it. You know, some of the haunts just don't work, and the expansion didn't really help in that regard. But Betrayal Legacy, a legacy version of this, where you go in the house in the 1600s and bad things happen, and then time goes by and things are changing, that's interesting. And so far, I'm enjoying it a lot. Again, just the 2 games, but they were a lot of fun. So again, this one might move up higher. And this is just some of the components of the game. We don't really, I think this is like a picture of the back of the box. Don't want to really spoil too much of it for you inside there. And new things are going to show up. It starts off very simply with a fun twist at the very beginning of the game. You can go watch our things if you don't mind being spoiled for the first game or not. But I really like this one, Betrayal Legacy. All right, jumping to number 73. This is a game that was a sequel of sorts to a game I didn't think needed one. One of my favorite games to play with my wife over the last 20 years or so has been Lost Cities. So they came out with Lost Cities Rivals. So Lost Cities Rivals it's very similar to Lost Cities, but there's an auction element to it. So you are going to be bidding on cards, and then when you win these cards, putting them in front of you, trying to get them in runs of cards. It also is for more than 2 players, although I really like it at 2 players. And how many 2-player auction games are there? This is a pretty neat one, especially when your money goes to other players when you win it. And then trying to get these, there's a little bit of push your luck. You're definitely going to need to play this game more than once, because the first time you'll understand that you cannot bid all your money away at the beginning of the game. So that's kind of a weird aspect to it. You have to kind of stretch it out over the course of the game. So there's some kind of interesting back and forth decisions here. I like this one. It's a neat game that's lost to these rivals. Number 72 is a game that Z likes more than me. I think this made his top 10, but I also thought it was cool because I like the ant theme, and that is Micropolis. So Micropolis is a game in which you are building your own ant colony. You're putting these tiles in kind of a circular arena. Here's an example here where you're going to put them around, and then some of them get you soldier ants, and you're building paths, and you're trying to get different pieces of food, and having your queen in one big long section. And that's really what it is. You're just each turn going to be drafting these tiles and putting them in your thing. It's a very simple game, has great theme, great components, a lot of fun. That's what I'm saying about it. Bruno Catala did it again in Micropolis. Alrighty, number 71 is another Tetris style game that was not designed by Uwe Rosenberg, and that's Ohio. This game here, which the cover, when I first got it, I was like, all right, that's weird. And now that I played it, I look at the cover and I go, all right, that's weird, still weird. But anyway, this is essentially Tetris, the board game. You are going to be rotating this thing here, dropping tiles down, and trying to get them to fall into your grid so that you can keep raising this bar up, and also then form tiles of the same color next to each other so that you can score points for them being next to each other. Getting these little meeple dudes that come to your festival. Simple, simple, simple game, but a lot of fun. That's Ohio. Someone says it's R's, not H's. I know. But I was told that it's pronounced like Ohio. I don't know. Someone who knows Portuguese told me how to say it. I'm probably massacring it, but I'm trying to say it the proper way. Hey, we made it down through the first 30 games on the list. Let's see if there's any questions or things from people here. Villainous seems like a great idea, but the game itself seems lacking. I think the game itself was fine, and again, a lot of people really love Disney, so I'm really glad for that game exists. Never seen Ohio spelled that way. Well, I was told to think Ohio as you said it. That's what I was told to do when you go through that. I like how Tom's using the video screen to explain the games. Well, we'll see. We're trying to listen back to feedback and hear from you guys. And so people today want more pictures, so we're putting them on the screen to show them off there as we go through these. And when I do all my little live videos this week and next week, that's what we'll be doing there. I appreciate the attempt to pronounce words properly. Well, thanks. I try sometimes. As you notice, I'm not the world's greatest pronouncer of words, or even in the top 80% of people. Maybe 90. Alrighty. I love your enthusiasm for gaming, but I'm struggling to figure out how you play all these games, run the dice tower, record all these videos. I don't know either. I think it's a time-dimensional thing or something. Ohio. Okay. Well, either way, I think I might have got the pronunciation somewhat close to being correct. Better than more often. Villainous is amazing. It needs more villains. I know for a fact that they're making expansion with villains, so because they asked, what villains would you like to see? And I think we can all agree that Scar needs to be on the list. Come on now. Scar is like one of the best villains ever. And what other villains need to be in there? Well, Scar. I mean, Scar for sure. Scar's a... Be prepared. Let's move on. Number 70 is a sequel to another deck building game. The first game was Paperback, so the sequel, of course, is Hardback. Although that doesn't really make sense. Shouldn't have Hardback come out first, and then Paperback comes out like a year later, and then the digital version. Anyway, so Hardback is a sequel to Paperback, which was a deck-building word game where you were building words with the cards in your hand, and then but also the different letters would give you special abilities. So word people liked it, deck-building people liked it. Great. Hardback is essentially very similar, except now you can put combos of words together And they're in different categories: adventure, romance, mystery, and horror. And each of them, like if you play 2 romance thing, this one gives you a penny, but if you play 2 romance, it gives you another penny, and then it doubles an adjacent card that it's next to when you're building a word. And so it gives you more combos. I think I like paperback slightly better. It's simpler, but if you want a more juicier gaming experience, then you'll want to pick hardback. All right, that's number 70. Number 69 is a small little reprint of a Japanese game. In fact, when I was hunting down pictures, the Japanese one still shows up the most. But this one here, I think Bruno Feduti came in and helped with the reworking of it, and that is Greedy Kingdoms. So Greedy Kingdoms from AEG, this is from their Big in Japan series where people buy games just because they're from Japan. But Greedy Kingdoms is a lot of fun. It's, again, like I said, 2-player, where you're both playing a card from your hand and trying to outthink the other person. So one person might play the Baron, one person might play the King. But if you play, one person's playing cards to get resources, the other person's playing cards to stop them from getting resources. So I'm trying to think what you're going to play. So the King here, you spend resources and get these resources. The Baron just gives you these resources. So I might think, he's going to play the Baron, so I'll play my Baron to stop him. But you know that I know that you're going to play the Baron, so I'm not going to play the Baron. But you know that I know that 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 you know that I know. I forgot where I was. But anyway, that's the kind of game it is. Cards upgrade, special buildings come and give you powers. It's a really solid little game. My number 69 is Greedy Kingdoms. Number 68 is also a small game. This is, I forget the name of the company. Let's just put it up on the screen. It's Before the Earth Explodes, Green Couch Games. That's right. A 2-player game in which, again, it's almost the same thing as Greedy Kingdoms, where you're both trying to play a card, trying not to mess over the other person, because this is more of a rock, paper, scissors style, where I'm going to try to play a card and mess you over so that mine works and yours doesn't, but you know I'm thinking that, so you play the card over that messes over the card that I was going to play with you. Very simple back and forth where you're trying to send people to other planets. The theme, whatever. I know the Earth's going to explode. You're trying to get people off. It's just a quick outthink the other person play card game, and I like it. That is Before the Earth Explodes. Hey, we're on a run of small games here. 67 is a game I didn't think would work because it's a smaller version of a larger game that I love, and that is Ticket to Ride New York. Ticket to Ride New York, with the fonts on the cover, is a game. It's Ticket to Ride, but on a smaller map. It's a 15-minute Ticket to Ride. I don't know who was asking for it, but it worked. So you're just basically building these little routes, except they're not trains, they're taxis, and connecting them and getting routes and building cars and coins with the first person to connect to cities, and then the most points wins. This is the first, I'm sure, in a series of these. I'm going to make a prediction. You'll see 10 of them before the day is over. But I like it a lot. It's a nice gift to give to people. A simple, fast, fun game. Ticket to Ride New York. Alrighty, well, enough of the small games. Let's go to a larger style game. This is a worker placement game from Queen Games. I think I just reviewed this a bit ago and had a chance even to play it after that, and that was Bastille. Bastille takes place in the French Revolution, and yeah, whatever. So it's a game in which you're running the best revolution. You're going to be placing out these influence tiles on the board, worker placement, and then getting stuff. So getting points, getting people for your revolution, getting weapons for those people because they were too lazy to bring their own weapon, and just getting things. You're going to want to put your workers in all 7 spots. You have 3 or 4. It's kind of annoying. But as time goes by, you're trying to figure out the best spots. Your direct competition with people to win those spots, upgrading your influence tokens. It's really good. The theme is the graphic design is decent, but it's the gameplay itself that makes this one really fun, and that is Bastille. All right, jumping into party games with number 65 this is a game in which you are using cards to make a picture, and that is Pantone, the board game. I don't know that I would have bought this game based on this cover, but I do know that when I was a kid and we used to go to a hardware store, I would take the different Pantones that were there of the colors and take them home and be like, ooh, what color would I paint my house? Now I just realized I'm too lazy to paint the house. But, so Pantone, you're going to take these swaths of colors and you are going to build a picture with them. This is ridiculous, this picture. And in fact, you know, I feel like I should know who that is. Oh, it's Buzz Lightyear. Sorry, it took me a while. So anyway, you're going to make these. The problem is, this is the one where I think this is the one where they could use as many cards as they want. There's one that lets you only use 3 colors or a couple colors, and there's one that lets you use 3 cards total. Oh, the other one lets you use only 1 card of each color. And those are much harder to do, but it is really entertaining and fun. You do kind of need to know some pop culture. You play this with Grandma. She may not know who Buzz Lightyear, Spider-Man, or Bart Simpson are. Those are the kind of things that are in this game because they're very colorful, but it's a lot of fun. So that is Pantone, the game. Oh, real quick, I'm not being dismissive of the French Revolution. I know the French Revolution was an important time in history. It's just that there's a lot of games based about it, and this game doesn't particularly bring out the theme of the French Revolution that well. That's what I'm complaining about. Number 64. This is a very thematic deduction game, which is rare because most deduction games aren't, and that is Treasure Island from Meadow. Treasure Island, I mean, that cover is amazing. Vincent Dutrait, of course. But the gameplay itself is what people are going to be excited about. They're going to look at this and be like, what is this? Because on this game, you're drawing circles with a compass. You are using different tools and rulers and things to draw and figure out where Long John Silver is running with the treasure. You need to capture him. Where did he hide the treasure? So it's not the strongest in the deduction range, I don't think. There's sometimes it just... I think it's there. No? All right, that was a good guess. But being a pirate, drawing with the tools, putting out the compass, using the directions, searching in areas, using special abilities, with the artwork in the board, the whole thing just comes together to make a very entertaining find the treasure style games. All right, so that is number 64. Number 63 is a game I was super pumped about when I first saw it on Kickstarter, and I was glad to get it. It's lighter than I had thought, but that's not a bad thing. That is Dice Hospital. So in Dice Hospital, I just realized this guy is rolling dice. I don't know how that works with the theme. Come to our hospital, get healed. The dice in this game are patients. These patients are going to the hospital. So in this game, your player boards are going to be here, and you're going to be sending off, you're going to have dice in the hospital that are, these are patients, and then you're going to be sending out your nurses and doctors and what have you to different spots to heal them. You need to change them to 6s because 6s heal people and 1s are bad, or 6s are dead and 1s are good. I don't know, one of the numbers is good or bad, and you're trying to heal them before they die in your hospital or sit there forever and get kind of annoyed. That's an interesting theme. It's a good theme, like, hey, we want to be good doctors. And it's competitive because you're like drafting the different patients, and whoever drafts the worst patients, the patients who are closer to death, will also get the first pick of doctors. So you have to kind of balance those things out. There's a few small expansions and some really big chunky plastic ambulance pieces, which are a lot of fun. So my number 63 is Dice Hospital. Well, speaking of theme or lack thereof, let's jump to number 62, which is Newton. Now, I like Newton a lot. It's from the same guys who made Lorenzo Il Magnifico. It is not as good as those games, but it is a really solid game in which you're going to be playing cards over the course of this game and building up combos to get books to put on your bookshelf. So you have these bookshelves here. Now, if you look at this, it looks like a mess. And it kind of is a mess, right? There's just stuff, and you're moving these pieces here and getting points, and moving stuff over here and getting points, and collecting these and doing actions. But the gameplay itself is really solid. Play this card. How many times is that card symbol on the board? I'm going to be able to utilize that and get points from different actions. I like it a lot. So that is my number 62, Newton. Number 61 would probably be higher on my list if I had played it more. But I really, really enjoyed my single play of it. So that's why I haven't reviewed it. But I do want to play more of it right now. Z is playing it through at home. That's why you haven't seen a full review of it. And that is Detective, a modern crime board game. Now, I think Detective is fine. Now, there's a lot going on in Detective. You're using the internet. You're using the game itself and sheets and books and trying to figure out a crime. It's a crime that takes place in modern days but has implications from the past. There's, I think, 5 cases that come with the game, so I've solved case 1. And you go through and you get different clues and hints and things that you'll use in the future, and it kind of weaves this overall story. It's really involved. Players are coming together cooperatively. I like it a lot. When Z is finished going through it, I'm going to try to take it home and play through with my wife and see how I feel about it. Maybe it will go even higher, but for now, it is at 61 Detective. All right, got 10 more. Let's see if there's any questions here. Give us the top 10. That's what we're here for. Oh, that's in the next one. Sorry. Well, I've already done my top 10, although there's a slight change in it. You'll see when we get to it later on today at 2 o'clock. Do you think we'll see more hospital-themed games? Yeah, I think we should have more hospital-themed games. There should be a lot of them. A lot of people talking about the Lion King still. Man, I talked about Villainous a long time ago. Which would you pick, Detective or Chronicles of Crime? Well, I think since Chronicles of Crime was in my number 2 in my top 10 list, I think that's pretty obvious. I like Chronicles better. It's definitely simpler. Teaser. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. Alrighty. Well, that's all the questions that I've got time for right there. Let's jump up. Oh, who made the dice animals? Dice animals were made by Tina Borghino, who did our dice guys. I like them. You'll see more of them. Our Kickstarter is coming up in January. But let's go through the last 10 of this list. Here we go. Number 60 is a game I was super excited when I first saw it. Then when I went through the rules, I was like, I don't think I like it as much as I thought, because it's just kind of a take-that style game. But it was entertaining, and that's Starship Samurai. And in Starship Samurai, which has gigantic samurai flying around space fighting spaceships. That's the game. And you are using different actions and moving them from spot to spot, going around and slicing each other and attacking each other. Very in-your-face style game, and it's fun. Now, I think if it was longer, it would outstay its welcome. But it's like at the perfect speed, and there's definitely this interaction where you're trying to control areas, you're trying to fight each other with cards, and I don't know. There's definitely take that moment. It's like, boom, blow this card up on you, but you're expecting those and you have time to come back, and there's some good decisions to make over the course of the game. I like it. Starship Samurai, my number 60. Number 59 is the 4th game in the Fast Forward series, and that's Fast Forward Fortune. Now, I don't really am a big fan of slot machines because you are just putting a coin in, or not a coin, your credit card, I guess, and then seeing how much money you lose. But Fortune is an entertaining style game here. In this game, you are building a 3-digit slot number, trying to have a better one than everybody else. But this is a fast forward game, which means you learn the rules as you play. You get a few cards as you go. You put these cards together. Slowly, more and more rules are introduced to the game. I taught this to some people who play almost no games at all, and they just played game after game after game after game after game of it, really having a good time. That's Fortune, a Fable game. All right, number 58 also starts with F, but was not designed by Friedman Freese. It's from Queen Games. Takes place in the 1960s, where you own your own franchise, the name of the game. So franchise is a game in which you have a franchise all across America. Now, the board itself looks like spaghetti, but it's basically a bunch of highways that are ranging all over the board, and you are slowly putting out your franchises growing out. Here's the thing about this game. No luck. None. It is an area control game where you are expanding and just trying to outdo the other people. The only luck is the initial setup, really. And then you just have to outthink everybody else with a certain number of actions per turn. It's solid. It's thinky. It's straight up strategy and tactics. But it's also not too heavy. It plays very quickly and it's fun. I like it a lot. My number 58, franchise. Number 57 is one of my favorite themes in games, and that's city building. And this one is called Neom. Now, Neom, you're building some city of the future. Create the city of tomorrow. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like you're just building a normal city. But anyway, you're building this city and you're putting out these tiles here, and it's a little Carcassonne-ish, but it's a drafting game. Think of it as Seven Wonders, the board game, and it works well. There's one thing I don't like. There's these disaster tiles that come out that hurt everyone else except for the person who drew them, which feels, I don't like taking those tiles. No one does. That's my one negative thing about the game. But other than that, I really like it. Offers some really good choices. There is a lot of symbology in the game. You have to look up stuff a lot. But once you get past that, it's a good drafting game. Neom. Number 56 is one I think was on our top 10 surprises on Z's list. And this is a tile laying game called Fertility. So in Fertility, this takes place in ancient Egypt, as 99% of all games do. Not really, but there's a lot. And you have a board here, and you're placing these domino-style tiles on it, trying to put them next to other tiles of the same type to get these resources, to put these resources on your board and activate points at the end of the game. Very simple, but really good, meaty decisions for how simple the game is. The ratio of simple decisions to the great strategy in the game is pretty high. There's not many games out there like that, which is why this one is high on my list. My number 57, Fertility. My number 56, Fertility. Editors have corrected me. All right. Number 55. This game here is one that also might go higher when we ever get around to finish playing it. I think we played it 6 times or 7 times. It is a legacy game, The Rise of Queensdale. Now, surprisingly, this one hasn't blown through the roof. I really thought it would. Inkas and Marcus Brand really do a good job at making games. It's Ravensburger and it's legacy. That felt like slam dunk. Well, it's not. It hasn't, but I mean, it's doing well. And the game itself is a really good game. You're rolling dice, taking the actions on those dice, moving your pieces across a board. Just good, solid chunkiness with changes. The game is literally changing as we play through it. So I'm anxious to see where it ends up. Hopefully we'll get it finished at some point in my life. But so far, really enjoying The Rise of Queensdale. Number 54 is a game that I love the components for and the theming for. And that's, well, it's from CMON, so what do you expect? And that is The Way of the Panda. This game here, you have a bunch of plastic pandas. Look at that, those cool pandas there. But you have this board, and you're going to be moving these giant plastic pandas around a board by placing workers on this board here. It's a very interesting style board where you're going to place these workers here, and depending on how far down you place them and how far over, depends on how many you place and how much money you place, and you're spending time units in a sense, or action points. There's like 2 different currencies there that you're going back and forth, and then when you pull them off, you get more action points back, and then everything takes place here. It's not that complicated, but there's definitely a lot of choices, and there's definitely interaction because the game gives you points when you work with other players or build cities around them type situation. A good, solid game. I don't know how well it will do in the next couple of years, but it is one I think that I enjoy a lot, and that's Way of the Panda, number 54. Number 53, let's go back to Marvel. Yay! Now, I think we played this game before the movie came out. Yeah, we did. We did. Oh, man. I hate Thanos. But it doesn't matter. This game is called Thanos Rising. And the cover where it looks like he is, he's not having a good day here. I still think that anyway, it doesn't matter what I think about that picture. Thanos Rising is a cooperative game, and it's a pretty hard one where Thanos is in the middle and there's cards around the outside, and you are trying to get those cards to join you. Oh, Black Panther, I want him to join my team. And, ooh, this General Outrider, I want that guy to die. So you fight the bad guys, the good guys. It's a Yahtzee-style mechanism where you roll dice, keep them. You can use your superheroes that you have to manipulate them, and as you get more heroes, you can fight back. It's decently hard. You can make it harder, but as it is, it's decently hard, and it's a lot of fun. This piece here, you know what it's used for? Nothing, almost. It moves and turns, but that's about it. But it does show you how hard Thanos is. But at least his fist is like this. It's not like this. All right, number 52 is a Euro-style game. Very, very involved one from a very popular designer, Alexander Pfister, and that is Blackout Hong Kong. Now, I was super pumped about this theme, where if Hong Kong had a blackout and people were going to go around and fix it. That's really cool. Unfortunately, the theme is barely there, and the board itself is black. Everything here is black, which is cool, but also makes the game a little harder to play and figure out things. But you're placing cards in front of you to be able to take different actions, which you're going to have these cubes that become resources to move around on this map and accomplish goals. Very thinky, very plan ahead style game. I like it a lot. That is Blackout Hong Kong. And finally, number 51, the last one of this one. We'll be back at 2 o'clock later on today to do the rest of them. Number 51 is a game that you can only play once, but I played through it. It's one of my favorite escape room style games, and that is Macgyver, the board game. So Macgyver, a TV show that people still like to talk about today. If you have a paperclip, people shout Macgyver for no reason at all. But in this game, you're going to go through these different cases here, and you're going to open them up and find puzzles that you need to solve. Sometimes they're physical puzzles. Maybe I need to put things together or untie something or whatever. Or maybe they're a puzzle, I need to solve this. You need to use a computer app, and you go through and you will punch in the answer to solve different things. It's a little Macgyver-ishy. There is a paper clip in there somewhere. What do you use all this for? Well, you have to go through and figure it out. You do destroy it, but there are 5 games inside. I want to say it took me 2.5 hours to go through all of it, maybe 3. But it was a lot of fun, and I like the theming. It had a stronger theme than most of these escape rooms do. So that is my top 50 or bottom 50 of my top 100 games. Come back later today at 2 o'clock, and I'll be going through 50 to 1. So we'll talk about those and go through some of those as time goes by. Let's see. I'll see any questions here if anyone has anything before we jump off. This was a Target exclusive Macgyver, so definitely one that you can get there, I think, for not too expensive of a price. Definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. Is Blackout still fun with people who think a lot? I would not play it with anyone who has analysis paralysis, for sure. Tom, I keep leaving this feedback on your reviews, but you seem to not read them. When you say X is the designer I like games from before or something like such, mention some of those games. Maybe I will. How do you know I didn't read your review, your comment? Are my kids still in the gaming? Hey, are my kids still in the gaming?
Some of them.
Some of them. People are now talking about the Macgyver theme song. Did you get to play Nemesis this year yet? Yes. Nemesis review will go up this week. So we'll talk about that during that review. Where are you streaming from? The Dice Tower Studio in Homestead, Florida. Alrighty. Well, that's it. I'll come back. We'll do our stream live at 2 o'clock later today, going through 50 through number 1. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Top 100 Games of 2018 live.